When you take power, you also assume responsibility. No man can get power without at the same time acquiring the duty of being held to a rigid accountability for his use of that power. I wish to see the people in absolute control, but when you, the people, assume that control, remember that you cannot shirk the responsibility that comes with it. The sovereign in any country and in any land must be held accountable for the way in which he uses the vast power that is his, and in our case, the sovereign is the people. The idea each of us must first have and foremost, all you individually and severally, and you collectively in company with us as fellow laborers, is duty. That is the important word for us, because the thought it symbolizes is the important thought for us to have ever in our hearts, in our minds. The man who is in danger of oppression from the sovereign can afford to think of his rights first and foremost, but the man who really is sovereign, or the entity which is really sovereign, must think of its duties first. When Abraham Lincoln was the head of our people, he thought of what? Of his rights? No, he thought of his duties. If he had been thinking of his rights, we would not today be appealing to his memory. We appeal to his memory because he served duty, because he thought always of his duty to his fellow men. He was a great man, but the people should be greater than any one man, and the people cannot be greater unless the people think of duty more than of right, just as the individual man who rises has to think first of duty and then of his rights. They must think of rights as developed in duty rather than of only their individual rights. Unless the people, unless the sovereign, develop the capacity to think, each one, of what is due from him to his fellow and not what is due from his fellow to him. Unless they develop that capacity, this country, based it is on the popular government, cannot achieve the place that it must and will achieve. I appeal to the memory of the men who fought in the Civil War, the soldiers who followed Grant and Sherman. When you went into battle, you were not thinking of your rights, you were thinking of your duties, of your duty to the flag, of your duty to the country, your duty to the men and women you had left behind, who would rather that you give that duty even at the cost of life than you shirked your duty and saved your life. That is what you thought of, and if you had not thought of that, you would not have been worth your salt as soldiers. If you had not put duty first and foremost, we would not now have had a great united country. The slaves would not now be free.